Can I do this without a microphone? Yeah. I'm going to use my coach's voice if that's okay. Yeah. And I wrote everything down because I was afraid. I know all these stories by heart, but I was afraid I was going to get emotional and I might need a little bit of help as we go through this. So let me introduce myself. I'm Todd Beeling, father of the bride. This is my wife, Shanna. And on behalf of us and the Marshall family, we thank you all for coming and celebrating Corey and Brittany with us today. So thank you. I've got a few quick stories that I'd like to share with you guys, but especially with Corey. These stories are about the character of the woman that Brittany is. These stories are going to illustrate some truths about Brittany, that she is strong and fearless, that she's a nurturer, and that she has her roots in Jesus. Let me start off with a story about strong and fearless. One afternoon, Shanna got a call from the nurse at school at Lamar Elementary School. Brittany was about 8 years old, and the nurse said, "You need to come. She's been at recess, and she's cut her knee." Well, when her mom showed up, there's Brittany sitting on the nurse's bench, but it wasn't really a cut. It was more of a scoop, and it was not the type of cut that could be stitched. It was a pretty gross cut, and it has a beautiful heart scar. If you ever get a chance to ask Brittany about it, you need to check it out. It's pretty neat. But in the midst of all that, when her mom showed up there to the nurse's office, there was not a tear to be seen. All right, there was not a flinch. She might have even been smiling a little bit, kind of proud of this tough scar that she just got. We took her to Dr. Owens, and Dr. Owens said, "We can't stitch it up, but here's what you need to do. Every night you need to scrub on a little bit to keep that infection out." Miss Michelle, I know as a nurse, you probably know all about those types of cuts. So night in, night out, and it was a slow heal. Her mom and I would scrub on it with soap and water to make sure no infection got in. And not once did this girl ever shed a tear. Not once did she ever grimace. All right, she is a tough girl. And the reason I tell you this story, Corey, is because she's not going to startle. All right, there's not much you can do that's going to scare her. All right, and she's really at her best when she's facing difficult times. But I bet you've already seen some of that already, yes? Good. My second story is Brittany is a nurturer. Shannon and I have always asked our girls, we've got 3 daughters, and this is our first wedding, and we've asked our girls to always be a part of something bigger than themselves. And Brittany has made a couple of choices, but when she was in middle school, she decided to run cross country. Now, I think she will be the first to tell you that she was not the fastest girl on the team. But there was one specific track meet in middle school, her 7th grade year, where coaches still talk about it to this day. In fact, as I was on the wedding here, and Coach Datesman, he stopped me and said, "I still remember this day." Let me set the scene for you. The race is almost over, and at Lockhart High School in Texas, she was coming up a hill. The finish line is coming up a hill, and it had a nice little turn to it. And as she and a fellow competitor from another school were side by side coming up this hill and turning the corner, the competitor fell. And instead of bolting to the finish line, Brittany chose to loop back around and help this girl up. Katie, does that sound like her?
Sure does.
That's exactly who she is. And so every coach came to me afterward because they knew I was a coach as well and said, "Your daughter has one of the most incredible spirits we've ever seen." She is a nurturer. So Corey, trust me on this one too. Brittany was going to look after you. And if you're ever needing to be picked up, she's going to be right there. She'll help you get back up on your feet. She will set you on your way. And then my third story is Brittany has her roots in Jesus. One fall afternoon, we're moving from one home on one side of town in New Braunfels, Texas, to another home. Can you believe I'm telling you this story? And we had packed our cars, getting ready to move. It had rained. Brittany was a young 16-year-old driver, brand new at driving. She had worked very hard to earn money to buy her first car. And it was an older car with older tires on it. And it had rained that afternoon. And we got to the stoplight, for those of you from New Braunfels, Loop 337 in River Road, and it's a little bit of a hill going up the hill. Carlos, you know what I'm talking about. And because of the wet road, I made the lights. I should have stopped. A good dad on Father's Day. Looking back, I probably should have stopped and waited, but I didn't. I kept on going to the house, confident that Brittany would know her way. And when I got to the house, we unloaded my truck and waited and waited and waited. There was still no Brittany. And so I decided, my goodness, I better turn around. So I turned around and I found Brittany at that same intersection that I'd left her. But she was off to the side of the road. And when I found her, I realized that with the wet pavement and the old tires, she just had a hard time getting traction. And being a young driver, she lost a little confidence in being able to accelerate without losing traction again. And so she had pulled her car over to the side. But here's what was really neat about this story. When I found her, she was sitting in the front seat of her car and she had her Bible out. And so she had realized that when tough times come, you get that old Bible out and you start reading. I'm really not sure what verse it was. That's not really what matters. What matters is, Corey, she knows when the waters get rough, she knows where to look for a little bit of help, and that's to Jesus. So Brittany, been a part of our lives, our mom and I, for the last 27 years. And tonight, Corey, we're going to hand her over to you. And we hope that you will continue to cherish and love her as we know you will. We could not be happier for the both of you. And so, I'd like to raise a toast to Brittany and Corey.
Brittany and Corey.
Here, here.